Think about the last time you felt a deep pain in your heart or a confusion in your mind that you just could not put into words. We often carry these heavy feelings around like invisible stones in our pockets, and we do not know how to set them down. We try to talk about them, but sometimes the words feel too big or too small or just not quite right. We might even try to hide these feelings because we think they are too strange or too specific for anyone else to understand. We worry that if we showed the world our true messy selves, people would look away. But what if the very things we think make us different are actually the things that connect us most deeply to everyone else? This is the curious magic of how we share our lives with one another. We live in a world that often tells us to keep things light and quirky, especially when we are at work or meeting new people. We are taught to present a polished version of ourselves that is easy to like and easy to understand. But there is a quiet power in the things we try to hide. When we find the courage to map out our own struggles, we often discover that we are not alone in the dark. This realization can change the way we look at ourselves and the way we look at every stranger we pass on the street. It turns our private pain into a bridge. To understand this, we first have to look at the surface concept of how we communicate. Most of us start out by trying to be relatable by being general. We talk about the weather or we tell jokes that everyone can understand because they do not cost us anything. We think that being specific is a risk. We worry that if we talk about our very specific childhood or our very specific way of feeling sad, people will not be able to follow us. This surface idea suggests that to reach many people you must act like everyone else. We stay in the shallow end of the pool because it feels safe. We keep our ideas light and we avoid the deep water of our own autobiography. We think that by being quirky but distant we can protect ourselves from being misunderstood. But the irony is that when we are too general, we actually become harder to remember. We become like a blurred photograph that does not show any real features. It is only when we zoom in on the specific details of our lives that the image becomes sharp and clear. By looking at the surface, we see a wall between us and others, but if we look deeper, we see that the wall is actually a doorway. Behind this fear of being too specific, there is a hidden assumption that our personal experiences are unique to us. We assume that our heartbreaks and our anxieties and our strange little habits are things that only we feel. We think that if we draw a diagram of our own problems, no one else will see themselves in it. This assumption tells us that humanity is a collection of separate islands with no bridges in between. We believe that we are too different to be truly seen. But this is a mistake in how we understand human nature. The truth is that the more personal a feeling is, the more universal it becomes. When someone talks about the exact way they feel lonely or the exact way they fail at scheduling their day, we do not think they are strange. Instead, we feel a sudden rush of relief. We think, oh, thank goodness it is not just me. The hidden assumption that we are alone in our specifics is actually what keeps us feeling isolated. When we break that assumption, we find that our most private maps are actually the ones that everyone else has been using too. We are all navigating the same rough seas, even if our boats look a little different. This realization allows us to stop performing and start connecting. If we look at the structural pattern of how we solve problems, we see that we often need to step outside of a situation to understand it. When we are in the middle of a breakup or a difficult time, our vision is clouded by emotion. We are too close to the fire to see the shape of the flames. The structural pattern of self-expression, like drawing or writing, acts as a mirror. It takes the messy, tangled lines of our thoughts and puts them down on a flat surface where we can study them. By turning a feeling into a diagram or a cartoon, we create a distance that is actually helpful. We can see the patterns of how we hurt others and how we hurt ourselves. This structure allows us to move from feeling a problem to analyzing a problem. It is a form of emotional geometry. We can see where the lines cross and where the angles are too sharp. This pattern of making the invisible visible is a tool that helps us move on to the next chapter of our lives. It is not just about making art, it is about making sense of the chaos. Once we have this tool, we can use it to map out everything from the problem of time to the problem of dating. The structure of the work gives us the strength to face the reality of our own lives. We can reframe this entire experience with a new perspective on what it means to be seen. Instead of seeing our personal stories as a burden or a risk, we can see them as a gift we give to the world. Reframing our messy lives as a source of connection changes everything. It means that our pain is not just something to be ignored or solved in private. It is material for building community. When we share our autobiographical maps, we are telling the people around us that it is okay to be human. This perspective turns the artist or the storyteller into a guide. They go first into the difficult places and they come back with a drawing that says, "Look, this is what it looks like here." This reframing takes the pressure off us to be perfect. If our goal is to be relatable through our flaws, then we do not have to hide them anymore. We can be as specific and as female or as strange as we actually are. This is the ultimate freedom. It allows us to use our strongest problem-solving tools to help ourselves and others at the same time. We become more relatable not because we are like everyone else, but because we are brave enough to be ourselves. We can apply this insight to our daily lives in very simple ways. You do not have to be a professional artist to diagram your own life. You can start by simply writing down the specific details of your day that felt hard or beautiful. When you are talking to a friend, try sharing a detail that feels a little too personal or a little too specific. Notice how they respond. Usually you will find that the more honest you are, the closer they feel to you. We can use the tool of specific storytelling to navigate our own breakups and our own struggles with time. When we feel overwhelmed by too many things happening at once, we can try to draw a map of our priorities. We can look at our own lives as if we were characters in a story. This helps us to be more patient and more kind to ourselves. It helps us to see that the run-of-the-mill pain we feel is still important because it belongs to us. By applying this specific focus to our daily interactions, we start to build deeper and more meaningful relationships. We move away from the light and quirky and toward the real and the lasting. As we sit with this idea, we can reflect on how much energy we spend trying to be general. We worry about how we are read by others and whether we are too much of one thing or not enough of another. But the most powerful stories in the world are the ones that are unashamedly specific. They are the stories that show the tiny quirks of a person's kitchen or the exact way they feel nervous before a date. These details are the anchors of our shared humanity. When we stop trying to be quirky for someone else and start being real for ourselves, we unlock a door that we did not even know was locked. We find that the world is much more ready to receive us than we thought. Our lives are full of problems that need solving, and our personal experiences are the best data we have. By mapping our own journey, we provide a service to everyone else who is walking a similar path. We learn that we are never truly hard to relate to when we are telling the truth. The pain and the joy and the confusion of life are the common language we all speak, even if we use different pictures to describe them. We are all just trying to understand how to live in this world and how to move from one heart to another. If you were to take your most private struggle right now and turn it into a simple drawing for the world to see, what is the one specific detail you think would make a stranger say "me too"?